Yo, 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 and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Morgan. Happy Thursday. Happy episode 263? Question mark?
263 and a happy two-parter. I mean, I pissed a bunch of y'all off.
Oh, yeah, they were bitching.
We got Sonic.
I spilt it, guys. Right on the new studio.
But, like, our rug is, like,
Thank God I picked a grape
resistant.
blue raspberry slushy.
Yeah, and it's really good. She got grape blue raspberry, but you have to, like, order a blue raspberry slushy, add grape flavoring to it. I got the new one. It's called the Cocoa Berry Crush, ? And it's coconut, vanilla, strawberry Sprite.
That sounds
with real strawberries.
It was really good.
Yeah, it's really good. And cream. Yeah. Cream.
Because we have a swig, but goodness gracious, you can't get in there. So we got to
get
our drinks at Sonic's
good
still
luck.
here.
Yeah. But then we also had pretzels and mozzie sticks. And we've also got Nikki in the corner of the room that you can't see her. She's behind the cam, but she's over here. She's
here.
I don't know if you guys can hear her, but
probably not in our like sound.
The encompassing sound. If you're on our damn Patreon, you'll see when we were designing this room, Morgan's like, and then
it encompasses
the sound. It'll encompass the sound.
So
she sounded like George Bush when she sounded to it.
I was very presidential in that. I was really trying to be persuasive.
Oh Lord! Now watch this drive
on the side. You're welcome for encompassing the sound, everybody.
But thanks so much for all the love about season 6 so far and what you guys have seen and what's going on.
I'm so proud of our pictures.
We changed the camera, changed the camera angle, changed the lighting levels all around. I think this one might look a little better because it didn't look bad. It was just really bright.
Yeah, like let me just show you guys if you're watching on YouTube
what this looks like.
This is at 100%. Hello.
If you're not watching on YouTube, it just lit up the entire room like the sun is in here.
50%. And so we have to use it at the lowest setting possible, 10%.
Yeah, or else it just doesn't, it just is too much.
I mean, that was just like the holy grail. That was crazy.
That's crazy. It's like we opened up a window and the sunshine was directly inside of it.
That shit is bright, all right?
It is so bright.
And that actually hurt my eyes.
No,
like,
me too.
My eyes are like going crazy.
Burning right now. But thanks for all the love and everything. If you're like, wait, Taylor, I thought we were doing a 3-point camera shoot last week.
Funny, you should ask.
We have to get a new SD converter that has like the ones with the 3 inserts because it was just taking too long. Couldn't handle it. Yeah, almost lost my mind. It's been a busy week.
It has.
We're recording this early. We're recording this on Friday. So our episode went out yesterday that you guys heard last week. So 262 went out literally yesterday from the time that we're recording this. But we're recording it early because both me and Morgan are got to go somewhere.
We're going on a little trippy. Not together.
A little trippy. Unfortunately. Yeah. We're going separate, but we will be back soon. And you guys can follow our travels on our personal Instagrams, which is Taylor J and
Morg.m, double the G.
You
know, I will say that, like, I feel like usually September we're just slammed. And then October hits and we're like back to regular programming and like regular recording and we're not as stressed. Why isn't that happening yet?
I was waiting for the relief to come in.
Where is the relief?
This week
Taylor
has been...
texted me today. It was like, I need a month off. Like,
I know.
Like we didn't just have one because we didn't. It was insane.
No, guys, this year was so different. I know on your end it sounded normal. On our end, it was insane. Yeah. Like we had to pre-record everything way earlier than we normally do. Then the studio renovation wasn't just a weekend thing like it has been in the past. Yeah. It's been a multi-week ordeal. And we did the shoot in the studio. Yeah. Which we haven't done since season 3.
Yeah. Then we had our crossovers.
Then we had the crossovers that we had to film.
It's just been like a lot. Like
it's been a lot. Like,
I thought,
guys, I moved my whole house,
and like there is no break. I have a coffee update. I got so many DMs. I was like, oh my god, I've been saying the same thing. My Dunkin', my caramel has been tasting terrible lately, from all over the place. Guys, this is what the worker told me this morning. This is a nationwide recall on caramel syrup at Dunkin'. Because I don't know how it got like that. Because it was really hard to like actually.
I looked over at Morgan's mic. It was shooting straight up. Look how much. Oh no, that's me. I was like, look how much bigger your waist got.
Anyway, he was like, yeah, no, it's a nationwide recall on Dunkin's caramel syrup because it was made with spoiled milk from the manufacturer. Illegal. Disgusting.
That is disgusting.
Guys, that was what was wrong with your caramel, and I don't think they're telling anybody. This is what the worker told me. I obviously didn't fact check, but I did see it on a Facebook group when I did try to fact check, and so now no one has caramel.
R.I.P. caramel from Dunkin'.
R.I.P.
And when are they
don't
going to
do
get
the
it
French
back?
vanilla because that's terrible.
No.
I don't know when they're going to get it back. Like, imagine having to replenish every single store across the country.
Me and Nikki had gotten some little sweet treats from the Target. And I gotta say, what I wanted was like, I've been seeing these bitches all over my For You page eating that Swedish candy, which me and you have had before.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't want that one. I wanted just like one that I could get at the store. So we found like some sour Swedish gummies. Then we found some things that are called like pigs, or what are they called? Like pink pigs or something?
Oh, I don't remember the name.
I don't know what they're right here. Hold on, I'm gonna get them. Okay, let me tell you the ones I got. So I got the rolling pin made in Sweden Swedish candy super sour power mix. This one's really good. However, there's one flavor in it and it's clearly grapefruit. I hate it.
Oh, I'd hate that.
It's horrible.
I'd be burping.
Then Percy Pigs. I've seen these on TikTok and I found them at Target. They are unreal. You're going to love them.
Are they sour?
No. You're going to love them.
Percy?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
They're like the best texture.
You know what it tastes like?
Okay. What?
A
squashy.
Oh, it tastes like a sweet tart straw.
Then, speaking of, so Logan's cousin, Madeline, I do not know how to say her last name. It used to be Fetzer, now it starts with an A. She's actually an influencer on TikTok and on Instagram. She always gets these as her late night snack after her babies go to bed. They are the Target brand favorite day watermelon and blueberry filled candy straws. They're soft and chewy. This is what they look like.
They look like sweet tart straws.
Yeah, they look like the regular sweet tart straws. They are so delicious.
Give me half of one.
I don't even know what the texture's completely different.
That's half of two.
I know because I keep chewing these two together. I got problems. They're delicious. Like at first you're like, wait, the texture's kind of weird.
No, I love it.
No, the texture's unreal. So next time you guys are at Target,
wow,
this is your go-to candy. I will say I pulled a crazy thing the other day and I just finished my coffee. I was like, I keep these by my desk so that way Logan doesn't eat them all.
Drinking your coffee out of that.
No. I finished my coffee. My coffee was over with. But I wanted something sweet. It had been like an hour since I finished my coffee, and I wanted something sweet. And what I wanted was jelly on toast, but we didn't have toast, so I thought, what's a sweet option here?
Don't even tell me about the watermelon. I was done with you when I got that.
No, shut the fuck up about my watermelon. My watermelon's fine.
That was insane. Did you get that?
The pickle juice. Do you not salt your watermelon?
No.
Okay, I salt my watermelon. It's just like that.
But it tastes like dill.
No, it really doesn't. It just tastes like salty watermelon. Like,
guys, I got a Snapchat of watermelon chunks in a jar of pickle juice.
I've been dunking them in there.
They were like just floating around in there. It wasn't even like just like a splat. It was they were being pickled.
They were delicious.
And I said, don't ever send me that again.
If I felt like pickled watermelon rind, like pickled watermelon's a really like normal Southern thing.
Oh, I've never heard of that ever. Pickled watermelon rind? Mm-hmm. People eat the watermelon rind.
Yeah, and you pickle it. It's really good.
Oh, I don't.
I grew up eating that too. And well, I said that to Logan too. I was like, Logan, this is normal. And Logan was like, you're fucking crazy. And I was like, the problem, guys, we had the really good pickles. What is that brand that I like? The really, really good ones. It starts
Grillos.
No, not Grillos. The ones that are kept cold. Starts with a C. Clausen. Yeah, Clausen. And we had just finished that, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get rid of this juice because it was completely filled to the brim. I was like, this is great juice. So I took a sip or two, and then I was like, I don't really want that. I like want it in something. And we had watermelon that we were about to throw out, so we were trying to eat it, and I was like, because I was sitting there salting it anyways, beside the salty ass water. So I was like, let me dip it in there. And I dipped it in there. It was so good.
I just can't get behind that one.
That's a very Southern thing. But also, guys, I put watermelon. Like, I put mustard on my watermelon. Like,
that is also crazy. I'll never forget that.
It's really good.
I remember.
It's really good.
I think you treat watermelon like bread.
What?
Like something with no taste.
Look, and I put peanut butter. I've always put peanut butter on pickles too. So like,
it's crazy.
Those two things are like my like weird things that I'll eat anything with, and because they taste so fucking good with anything. What have you ever met that a pickle didn't go well with?
Watermelon.
No, it goes so. You've never tried it. How do you know?
I wouldn't know peanut butter because I've never had that.
Yeah, you can't have that. But
maybe. I don't know.
There's not one single thing that I've ever thought, wow, pickle would go horribly with this. Because I can always wash anything down with a pickle.
That's true.
It's such a palate cleanser. A pickle is a palate cleanser.
I just don't know about the watermelon and the pickle juice.
But now I need more pickles because I just finished my jar yesterday. That's why I put the pickles in it. I mean, the watermelons in the pickles.
That was crazy.
I got rid of both of my pickles and my watermelon yesterday. I emptied that bitch. And then I burped up. I burped up fucking vinegar all night. But it was so good. So
that would have had me gagging.
Yeah, that was the worst part. We got to get to this
guys,
episode.
It's
been 20 minutes.
You're up. If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy.
I am doing part 2 of the Heidi Firkus and Nick Firkus case. A recap just off the dome because I didn't type it out just because we literally covered it 2 days ago for me and Morgan. I wasn't even thinking. If you didn't listen to episode 262 already, you need to go listen to that first because this is not going to be a really good recap if that's what you're banking on. But part 1, we discussed that we are in St. Paul, Minnesota, in the Hamlin Midway neighborhood. And this young couple who's been married for 4.5 years, named Heidi and Nick, live in a house that they bought like 10 months earlier in the summer of 2009. They are really big in their church. One Saturday night, they're about to go. So it's actually like Saturday, the 24th of April at this point, 2010. Heidi had gone shopping with one of her girlfriends. She comes home. Nick had like cleaned the house. He had like set up a little at-home date for them. They have a glass of wine. They had takeout. They watch Avatar movie. They go to bed and he wakes up at around 6. He's got dry mouth from the wine. He needs a glass of water, but he can't even like, you know, when you're like, so you get that wine dry mouth.
Yes.
So he like stumbles into the bathroom. And so he just like puts his head under the sink and he takes a big gulp and then gets back in the bed and he's about to fall back asleep and he's not in between and he hears this sound that sounds like their front screen door opening and closing and he's like, did I hear that? So he's laying there and you know what you do, like when you hear a sound at night, you can't differentiate if it came from your dream or was real. So you like get really quiet, you stop breathing for a second, you got your eyes wide open and you're just listening to every single sound that you could hear possibly around you. And then he hears what he says sounds like fiddling with the door. He gets up, he goes to his closet where he keeps his double barrel shotgun, which he keeps loaded in the closet. He puts on a jacket, he puts on pants, he puts on shoes. He grabs Heidi, his wife, some jacket and shoes. He tells her to put it on, that someone's breaking in, that they need to go through the house, down the stairs, out the back door, and to their detached garage where their cars were, so that way they could safely call police and leave the property if they needed to. She says okay. She picks up her phone. She calls 911. They're going down the stairs. Heidi is in front of him. He is behind her with the loaded shotgun, ready to go, facing the door. But here's the thing. They have to walk past the door. Like they have to go down the stairs and go to their right, which is where they could walk into the kitchen, which was like in a direct line with the front door. So it was like literally a hard right, but on their left, that means was going to be the front door. So Nick's thought process was, I'm gonna have Heidi in front of me, so that way, whenever we go around the corner to the kitchen, which will take us to the back door to get out of the house and go to the detached garage, that she will not be behind him. He can have his eyes on her the entire time. Well, as she passes by the front door, so between her and Nick, the intruder that had been fiddling with the front door busts it open. She runs into the kitchen, still on the phone with 911. This is all heard on a 911 call that came in at 6:32 a.m. And literally, Nick and this intruder are in a fight for their life, holding the shotgun at chest height, swinging it back and forth when the shotgun goes off, not once, but twice. And the first one hit Heidi. She falls to the ground. The second one hit Nick in the leg, and the intruder, realizing that he just shot both of these people, turns out the front door and leaves. He just runs and he flees. Nick takes off his pants to figure out where he's been shot because, like, obviously he's been shot in the thigh. You're thinking, oh my God, my femoral artery. Is that what it's called?
I think so.
I'm bleeding out. Like, because you'll bleed out quick if you get shot there. So he takes off his pants and he picks up his phone out of his pants pockets and he calls 911 as he's doing this. And he realizes that Heidi's been shot. She's not moving. So he's crawling over to her as he's on the phone with 911. And you hear on the phone, on the 911 call, which his call came in 65 seconds after hers, him screaming, "No, my wife's been shot. She's not breathing. She's not moving." And then officers are dispatched. 3 officers come. They don't see anyone else in the house. They clear the entire house, the entire property. He's rushed in an ambulance to the hospital. Unfortunately, Heidi, 25 years old, is declared dead at the scene. Miraculously, they find out at the hospital that Nick was pretty much unharmed other than just the bullet wound itself, because it just went through like the fat on your leg. It didn't hit anything that was major. So they patched him up and within like 2 hours he was discharged and released to the police. He was taken to the police station where Detective Jim Gray sat down with him for over 3 hours and just had him walk him through everything I just told you, from Saturday night all the way until they're sitting in this room right then and there. He gives a description of the man, which was a black man, 6'1" to 6'2", older with like deeper looking eyes, but he couldn't really tell much about the guy because A, this happened within seconds, and then B,
in the dark,
the guy, it was in the dark, half asleep. The guy has on a black hoodie, and he basically says like he couldn't really tell much about him, but like this is what he knew. Detective Jim Gray is like, okay, well, do you guys have any marital problems? He's like, no, absolutely not. And they're like, okay, well, do you have any financial problems? And Nick's like, actually, yeah, our house is foreclosed on and we're being evicted tomorrow by the sheriff's office at noon. And Detective Jim Gray's like,
I was just in your house.
I was just in your house, bro. There's not a single bag packed. Like, your fridge is full, your pantry's full. That's weird. And then Detective Jim Gray's sitting there thinking about like all the details of this case that he knows this far within the last few hours that this all happened. And he's like, oh my God. The canines couldn't pick up on any scent, and it was a beautiful day. There was not a cloud in the sky. There was not a drop of rain. There was no fog. There was no snow. There was no wind. It was a perfect day, and this was like the best dog in their county, so why the heck is this dog not picking up a scent? And then number two, there was a neighbor next door who had a perfect view of Heidi and Nick's front lawn, and he heard the first shot, stood out and looked outside, heard the second shot, was looking outside, and didn't see a single person run out that front door. So make that make sense. And so as he's sitting here listening to this, he's like, oh, okay, well, Nick, did Heidi know about you guys having your house foreclosed on and having over $15,000 in credit card debt? And he's like, yeah, she knew, but we vowed to not tell anyone. And that just didn't sit right with Detective Jim Gray. I don't know why I'm calling him by his first name, but it just didn't sit right with him. It didn't really sit right with anyone, but there was nothing that they could do.
That was crazy good.
Thanks.
Don't ever write out a recap again, because to the date, to the time, to the full name was insane. You psychopath. Oh my God.
I don't even know.
6/32, the 24th, Jim Gray.
Detective Jim.
The canine's name was Oliver. That was crazy, Taylar.
Okay, so after putting all these pieces together over the course of this, like I said, over 3-hour interview with Nick Firkus, Detective Jim Gray had just like one more question for Nick. And that was, Nick, did you have anything to do with this? Did you have anything to do with this home invasion, with Heidi's death, anything? To which Nick immediately answered with no beat, missed, okay? And he says, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why did you want to ask me that? And Detective Jim Gray says, well, first off, son, I'm an officer. I have to ask you hard questions. Like, that is literally my job. And after this, Nick was finally able to see his family, who were brought into the interview room. So we got to see that first interaction on camera with audio. It was the first time that Nick had broken down in front of the officers, and it was only once he was in his mother's arms. Now, just because I find the timeline very, very important to this case, I just want to note that his parents came in, so the interview that was over 3 hours ended at 12:50 p.m. according to the timestamps on the footage, meaning it had only been 6 hours and 20 minutes since that first 911 call came in from Heidi.
That's a pretty quick turnaround on everyone's part, especially being in the hospital.
He's in
back
scrubs.
out.
Like, he's in, like, hospital scrubs when he comes in and on crutches. After this, they take Nick home. His parents take him home with them, where he told them for the first time about the financial troubles, the debt, the foreclosure, everything. Then we know that Nick and his parents sat down with Heidi's parents to tell them in a meeting together the very next day. During this, Nick broke down and just apologized for not being able to protect their daughter, his wife. And Heidi's father, in an effort to comfort him, reassured him that the man would be caught and his daughter would get the justice that she deserved. And Nick's response to this was, no, they won't. They'll never catch him.
Okay, guilty.
Which really threw Heidi's family off. First off, my husband would be like, yeah, justice will be served because I will do it.
I'll find it myself.
I'm going to get to him before the police do. Mm-hmm. This really threw Heidi's family off, but especially the fact that Heidi never once came to them with their issues, that their financial struggles that they had. That same day, so 24 hours after Heidi was murdered, the media had also taken the story and ran with it, focusing heavily on the couple's financial troubles and the suspicion surrounding Nick, especially when the dynamics of Nick and Heidi's relationship became public. Because you see, we talked about how they were, very involved in the church and had this very traditional Christian relationship. Well, it was just that. Nick was in control of the finances. He made the money. He paid the bills. He, bought the insurance. He handled anything that had to do with money. Whereas Heidi was like the planner, the decorator, the manager and keeper of the house, getting the money for what she needed from Nick. But like if she planned a vacation, she'd be like, okay, here's the vacation planned. Here's all the stuff that books it, and he would pay for it. So as you can tell, very quickly, everyone's suspicion is now turning towards Nick because did she even know what the situation was? Therefore, Nick very quickly retained a defense attorney and immediately was advised to no longer give any statements to the St. Paul police. He was not to speak with the St. Paul police, according to his attorney, including sitting down with the department's artist to create a composite sketch of the man who broke into their home, shot him, and shot his wife dead. Instead, what Nick decided to do with his attorney was hire a private sketch artist, and this is the sketch that they got. So you can really see the, quote, crazy eyes that he described. Wow. It's a very realistic,
I don't like that
sketch. It's actually a really good sketch, as we'll come to see. Again, just to give you a description, if you're not looking at the picture with us, this is a black male in his late 30s, early 40s with bulging, quote, crazy deep eyes, a round face, wearing a black or dark colored hoodie. Then together, Nick and his attorney hand delivered this sketch to the St. Paul detectives on the case, at which point they had like a scheduled meetup time that Nick and his attorney were to come in and give Nick's DNA. Investigators immediately released this sketch to the public via the media to see if any tips would come in. And a few did, but nothing that was concrete. And just like that, Heidi's case went cold. Completely cold. The composite sketch and Heidi's story was blasted out to the media on every anniversary that went by, but it would take 5 years for the first real development to take place.
Wow.
When detectives get a call from a woman just after the 5th year anniversary of Heidi's death, she had been watching the news when they ran, Heidi's case, and they put that composite sketch up and told about the crazy happenings of that day in April of 2010. And this man, the sketch, flashes across her screen. And she was so taken aback because she knows this guy. She knows who that is. His name is Michael Pye. Investigators actually recognize the name when she says it to them. So they plug it into their system and boom, Michael Pye, who was now in his early 50s, had been engaged in a pattern of several home break-ins in St. Paul in 2010, always striking at around 6 a.m, and was characterized by his, quote, large, crazy eyes. Morgan, I'm going to show you this freaking composite sketch beside his mugshot from 2010.
Oh, hello there.
That's him.
That's a match.
That is literally him. And that's exactly what Michael said. That's me. And I'm going to tell I'm not even joking.
Said, oh, wow. Did you guys hire a sketch artist?
Oh my God. Did you? Picasso me?
All for me?
All for me. So luckily for investigators, he was behind bars at the time, and they realized this, so they very quickly were able to set up a meeting with him, during which they asked him about his crimes. And Michael was very forthcoming, because I believe he had been dealing with some substance abuse at that time, and he was also displaced. And he explains that he was breaking into homes to just get what he needed to survive. He would go in, he would get food, he would get clothes, he would get blankets if they had them, maybe if there's a piece of jewelry that he could go pawn off, that's what he would get. So they show him this composite sketch that Nick and his attorney had drawn up, and Michael, like I said, yep, that's me. Where'd you get this from? What happened here? And investigators are like, okay, we'll tell you about the case that this is from. So they tell him about Heidi's case. But immediately after saying that Heidi and Nick were shot, but specifically that Heidi was killed, Michael said, stop right there. Absolutely not. I've never, ever, ever had a gun involved in any of my crimes. Never, never, never.
I believe him.
Investigators then tell him the date of the attack, which was Sunday, like I said earlier, Sunday, April 25th, 2010, to which Michael says, exactly. Because here's the thing, Michael was behind bars at the time. He was in jail.
Oh, shit.
And they confirm this. They look it up, and sure as shit, guy is behind. He had been arrested on January 1st of 2010 and was still in jail at that point in time from his crime spree, his burglary spree that he had been on. So there was absolutely no way that it was Michael Pye, as he had literally been caught for those exact crimes at that point in time, that actually spanned from the winter months of June 2009 to literally January 1st of 2010 when he was first caught. During that time, so the winter months of 2009, when he was doing this burglary spree, because he needed things to keep him warm because he was displaced at the time, his picture had been plastered on every news channel. He was wanted. They knew it was him. His picture was everywhere.
Easy setup.
That made investigators wonder, maybe Nick had either subconsciously
thought it was him,
or
purposely
did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But
convenience.
They couldn't ask Nick about this because he still, after 5 years, refused to cooperate with them, at the advice of his attorney, I must say. And his attorney was on 20/20 48 hours Dateline saying, that's on me. I would not let him speak to police. Period. End of story.
Damn.
So fast forward again to 2020.
I feel like there's a moral compass though, where if my attorney's telling me not to speak and it's been 5 years, I'm gonna be like, no, that's the guy I saw. I don't know.
I don't know, Morgan. I don't know.
If you really weren't guilty, I feel like I'd be like.
But also, if you're really not guilty, you're listening to what your lawyer's saying because they know how to play the game. You don't.
That's true too.
You know?
But I'd be like, I know this makes me look.
I know.
Guilty.
I would be such a bad.
Yeah.
I would end up being locked up. Because I'd be like,
hey, I'd call the cop on my side phone and be like,
hey,
I just wanted to let you know that I do want to talk, but my attorney told me not to, but I know I'm not guilty.
Yeah, and
they'd be like,
she's so fucking guilty. This bitch is so guilty. Okay, so fast forward to 2020. Heidi's case is completely cold, 100% cold. There's been no movement. And over the last 10 years, every anniversary of her death or birthday that passed, and even some of the holidays, her parents would call police and they would ask for any updates. Is there anything new? Did you get any leads? What can we do to help? But they were the only ones that called. Never Nick or his family, never any one of their friends, quote unquote, that they had. It was as if everyone had just accepted her murder and moved on with their lives. But that was not the case for Sergeant Nicole Sipes, who had been transferred to the homicide unit just months before in mid to late 2019 and immediately took on Heidi's case. The case file was huge, but the true facts were sparse after all of these years had passed. But she just started from the very, very beginning, combing through each and every single one of the pieces of information that they had, spending most of her time rewatching every single millisecond of that interview between Detective Jim Gray and Nick Firkus from the day that Heidi was murdered. And immediately, several red flags stood out to her, jumped out at her. Number one, Nick's incredible lack of emotion without the classic signs of shock or disassociation. Because what I told you last week was it just seemed like he was in shock, just repeating the things, no emotion behind it, just, like a robot. But she's watching it and he's very relaxed. He's showing no signs of shock or trauma. He's just emotionless in it. This stood out specifically because Like I said, guys, this interview ended at 12:50 p.m. She was shot and killed at 6:32 a.m. That is 6 hours and 20 minutes earlier.
The only explanation I can give that is painkillers from the hospital.
Yeah, morphine. Because there's literally no other explanation for it. However, there is, because not everyone mourns the same.
That's
and
true.
we all have to like remember that we can't judge someone based off of their reaction to something crazy like that, even though.
Especially just coming out from getting fucking shot.
Yeah. You know, like there's a lot more that goes into that. Number 2, and though he had never once been told about Heidi's condition, like no one ever updated him on Heidi's condition, he never once asked police until an hour and 20 minutes into the interview with Detective Jim Gray. He says, hey, like no one ever told me about Heidi. What's up? Referring to the doctors, which Detective Jim Gray was like, well, let's get through this, before I tell you, because you want to wait till the end to break the news of something like the fact that your wife is dead. So he was able to deflect the question much longer until after they had gone through like all of everything that had happened that day. And like Detective Jim, I don't know why I keep calling him his first name. Detective Jim Gray had asked all of his questions. He then asked Nick like, hey, do you have any more questions for me before we move on to the harder questions, which is what I told you, where it was like, how is your marriage? Do you have any financial trouble? Did you do this? And Nick finally says, yeah, I just want a final answer on my wife. And Detective, Jim Gray says, like, this is my least favorite thing about my job that I have to do. I'm really sorry to tell you that Heidi didn't make it. She's dead. Nick pushes his chair back like half an inch and he clasps his hands and he puts them in his lap and he looks down at his hands and he just says, I figured that. He never once asked about what they were referring to the police, what police were going to do to catch the man that did this to his wife and himself, which is a very common question for a spouse of a murder victim, but specifically a man that survived, a husband that survived an altercation, or a partner that survived an altercation is, okay, this happened, she's passed, what's our next steps? What are you going to do to help me? What can I do to help you? He never once even had a question like that or anything like that. And then number 4, I guess Detective Jim Gray was like, is there anything I need to know? Anything that would throw me off that I would come across in the house? And he's like, yeah, in the back of my car, there's a special vacuum and like floor cleaner that I use only for work. It's like a work thing. I just forgot to take it out of the back of my car, and it could look suspicious because it specializes in cleaning blood and crime scenes.
Okay. What's his job again?
He's a subcontractor, so like installing carpet, cleaning carpet if need be. I don't think crime scene cleanup was in.
Yeah, usually dog shit and piss, but yeah.
Yeah, and that. And Detective Jim Gray's like, I mean, you can see, I don't mean to laugh, but like you could see in the interview, he leans forward like, and why would that be there? And
what's that do?
And Nick's like, oh, it's for work. I forgot to take it out, but like I just remembered it, and that would look sus.
Yeah, buddy. A little bit.
That looks really fucking sus, actually. In fact, so Sergeant Sipes is like, first off, she's a woman, so she's listening to all this, and she's like, oh my God. Okay, well, I'm calling the FBI. So she calls the FBI, and she's like, I need you to assist on 2 things. Number 1, I want you to assist on analyzing this 911 call that Heidi made at 6:32 a.m. So they enhance it, do all the things that the FBI can do that I can't figure out for the fucking life of me, even though this is my job, enhancing audio. They basically were able to determine that based off like footsteps that you can hear in the background and based on like movement around the room, that there were only 2 people in the house at the time this phone call was made. One being Nick and the other one being Heidi. And the only other sound that they can hear outside of that is the shotgun firing. No scuffle, no door slamming open, no other person.
Signs of like forced entry into the front door?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And then the second thing she needed help on was essentially recreating the crime scene based off of Nick's account. Because if you'll remember, Nick specifically said that he and the intruder were fighting with the shotgun. And I called it in the first one like the waltz of their life, because they were literally like ballroom dancing from the way that he described it. And in fact, in the interview room, him and Detective Jim Gray are reenacting this with his crutches from the hospital. because it's a crutch is about the same size as a double barrel shotgun. So they're holding it, and he's like showing them how they were fighting over it. And so the FBI redoes this entire thing using that crazy like 3D model I was showing you the other day.
Yeah.
And immediately, you know, again, he's saying it's at chest height. They're like, well, it doesn't even matter. We don't even have to recreate this because this is wrong. That's not how this shot was fired into Heidi, because according to her autopsy report, the trajectory of the bullet was not angled. It was straight on, as if it had been fired from shoulder height on Nick, not chest.
Okay. But
So,
not too much of a difference there.
It's about 2 inches.
Yeah.
It's about 2 inches. And you're also having to think, if you're in a struggle with a gun, it's moving the entire time when it's fired. So you would expect that it would be like angled, the bullet would be angled, or the thing that's really particularly different about this is it's not like a single bullet. It's not like a 22 caliber, you know, where it's just a bullet. This is a shotgun shell. So there's tons of little bitty beads inside of it that go out and on top of everything. So it's exploding. And like even in the wall from behind where Nick was shot, you can see it in the door from the crime scene photos. There's just all these little pellets everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's what really stood out to these investigators. So little by little, Sergeant Sipes is getting closer and closer to getting Nick on something. There's just one little piece that's missing that's going to help her really solidify that this is him. But she knew that there was only one way to get some real dirt on him. She needed to talk with someone on the inside, which was going to be impossible because anyone that was close to Nick or the Firkus family as a whole had virtually locked down. They had banned around him to create this like force field, and no one was speaking with anyone about anything. However, she found someone who had just recently separated with Nick, someone who would know the answers to exactly what she was looking for, and that was his second wife, or should I say his now ex-wife, Rachel Watson. And boy, was Rachel willing to talk. So this is what she told Detective Sipes. Rachel and Nick had met just 3 months after Heidi's murder, as she was the little sister of one of Nick and Heidi's closest friends from church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just after Rachel had left a very toxic and abusive marriage and moved to Minnesota to live with her sister as she got back on her feet. Nick and Rachel immediately connected and really helped each other out through healing with their traumas that they had faced, which is why it was a shock to no one that was around them in their close circles that their relationship was moving rather quickly. However, though it was no shock to those closest, everyone that was remotely familiar with Nick and Heidi's story felt like this was a little, and by little, way too fast. They were supportive but wary, including Nick's parents, who, according to Rachel, often reminded the new couple, that people were and always would be watching their every move, so that they needed to keep it locked up and low-key, which is the first time that Rachel really got a taste of the strict unwritten rules of Nick's family. Those being, we don't talk about that day with Heidi, but if we do, it stays between us and only us. It goes nowhere else. In August of 2012, 2 years and 4 months after Heidi's murder, Nick and Rachel got married and eventually had 3 children together. By eventually, I mean very quickly. With Nick continuing to be the provider for the family by working for his family business still, and also reassuring Rachel that before they got married and had kids, he had taken care of all of his debts. However, his credit was had obviously taken a massive hit, and Rachel's wasn't much better than his. So Nick's parents agreed to buy them a house so long as Nick and Rachel paid them the mortgage monthly as somewhat of a rent type of way, you know what I mean? But Nick was responsible for paying the property taxes on his own. Everything in their world was great. As time went on, though, their marriage began to lose its spark. They no longer had a relationship with one another, and Rachel essentially said that they were more of roommates and co-parents than husband and wife. And their marriage really began to strain as the kids got older and money got more and more tight. They had created budgets to stick to in order to make ends meet and give their kids the best life possible. But it was like no matter what they did, money was just draining out faster than they could get it. They were really struggling. Rachel just couldn't comprehend it because she really was doing everything that she needed to do. She was not spending money frivolously. She was not eating out ever, not even getting a snack at the gas station or the grocery store. She was making sure that the grocery list was as tight as she could keep it, only for dinners and lunches and snacks for the kids. And that was was it. She made sure that the kids were fed, but there was nothing special going on. She never ever treated herself, not even to a soda. Yet she would find wrappers and empty soda bottles in Nick's car when he would come home from work. Furious, she would confront him about these and be like, what are you doing? We do not have money. Like, if you want to eat something, take something from home. I've got these granola bars. We've got these bottles of water. But, like, do not be getting this at the gas station. Do you not think I want to go in and get me a fucking Little Debbie? Do you not think I want a oatmeal cream pie and a Coke? Yeah, of course I do. But we can't do that right here. We have to prioritize our kids. She would, like, confront this to him, and he'd be like, no. You've got this all wrong. My coworker was in the car with me today, and that was his snack, and he left it in my car.
Sure, yeah.
But no matter the excuse, this never sat right with Rachel. She knew that he was lying to her face, and it was only solidified when she started receiving collections calls. She would tell Nick about this, and he'd be like, no, that's just a scam that's going around. Like, no. Or he'd be like, no, I already took care of that one. Like, don't worry about that one. Rachel really had no choice but to believe him because, I mean, that's her husband, you know, that's the father of her kids. He had already gone through this before. There was no way that he would do this all over again, right? Well, that all changed one day when Rachel was putting away laundry in her and Nick's room. She opened up his sock and underwear drawer, and something in the back caught her eye. It was a piece of paper that had been tucked underneath the socks. She sat down the hamper and she reached back and pulled out the paper, only to realize that it was a notice that Nick had failed to pay their property taxes and they were now at risk of foreclosure.
Oh, God. Not again.
Rachel's stomach dropped and everything flooded to the forefront of her mind. It was like all the puzzle pieces fell perfectly together. She was now terrified for her and her children's lives, with one question just swirling around in her mind. Was she married to a killer? Has she been lied to all these years? She wasted literally no time. She packed herself and her 3 kids up. She took them over to a family member's house. She went and picked up her best friend, Emily, and had Emily come to her house with her, and they sat there waiting for Nick to get home from work, at which point both of them were recording on their phones and immediately started interrogating him. She pretty much said, I know you're a fucking liar. She didn't cuss. She's like a really good Christian. She's like, I know you're a fucking liar. We're behind on bills. We are at risk for foreclosure. This was in your sock drawer. Like, I'm not going to find it. And it makes me wonder about Heidi, to be quite honest. Did you kill your first wife? Like, just out the gate.
Yeah.
And this is all on recording. I get to listen to it on the 2020 special. I was jaw dropped. I'm like, fuck yeah, bitch. And he pretty much says, this is too triggering for me right now. You're bringing up all my trauma and I can't do it. I'm willing to have this conversation with you, but not right now.
Okay.
At which point, he like goes to bed, locks himself in a room, and she and Emily leave. He agrees to have this conversation again with her, but this time, the next day, he brings his parents.
Yay, mommy, daddy for backup at 40
And
years
mommy,
old.
daddy did all of the talking for him, especially about any and all questions regarding Heidi.
Maybe mommy and daddy can pay the property taxes then.
Which was all recorded thanks to Rachel being a smart bitch once again. Rachel really, really pushed all 3 of them, both of his parents and him, asking pretty much, if you were so involved, talking to the parents, if you were so involved in our lives, like you're so involved in our lives, you know everything that goes on in our lives, how the fuck did you not know that Nick and Heidi were in trouble? How did you not know? And basically his dad's like, we weren't close with them then. Which is not true at all. Everyone knew that they were up each other's asses. Rachel then said, okay, walks out, files for divorce, which is then finalized in 2018.
Good for her, Rachel.
Good for her. And when Sergeant Sipes knocks on her door in 2020, not only does she tell her this entire story, but Rachel hands over every single thing, recordings and all, that she has on Nick to police, offering to help them get Heidi the justice that she deserved no matter what, because she had a daughter too. And it didn't matter if this was the father of her children. She wanted him put away. But based on everything Rachel told Sergeant Sipes, she was convinced that Heidi had no idea of her and Nick's financial situation. How do you prove that though? Well, one option is witness testimonies, because every single person that was close to Heidi during this time was interviewed by police and asked if they had ever once heard of any financial struggles the couple were having. And they all said no. Then the investigator said, okay, well, do you think Heidi would have told you if she would have known? And every single one of them said yes, even if Nick had asked her not to. She was a professional yapper, and also she was a really big Christian. She would have asked for prayer request. She never once did. And also, on top of all of that, she confided in people that were close to her about very, very intimate things. So this was nothing compared to the other things that she had confided in people. She never even once spoke about an upcoming move. And if she knew that they were struggling with money, there was no way, all of her friends testified, that she would have gone on a shopping spree the day before. Remember, that's where she was on Saturday. She was on a shopping spree with her best friend at the mall. She would have never done that the day before they were getting evicted. But not only that, investigators went through every single one of Heidi's devices, her computer, her phone, her camera. They went through emails, texts, DMs, calls, you name it. They went through everything. And not once did she discuss money troubles with anyone, including Nick, her husband. Do you think for 1 second they wouldn't have had a single text or email between the two of them as a married couple discussing the foreclosure, the debt, the eviction, or even just money in general?
Right.
Could you imagine that? Hell fucking no. One of the cornerstones of being married, guys, if you are married, you'll understand this, or if you're want to be married or eventually will be married, let me fucking tell you. One of the cornerstones of being married is getting a text message from your spouse, your partner, that says, hey, this month we need to take it easy. We need to take it easy on the money. That is a fucking, just classic, okay?
You're Dunkin' for the 5th time this week?
Hey, this month we need to be easy.
What about the coffee at home?
Yeah, exactly. No. We can't do that. We need to save money. That is a cornerstone of being married. And that's conversations that you have to have with your spouse, because you have to let each other know, hey, I'm not going to have a perfect paycheck this week. And I got a lot of expenses that I have. That's what it means to be married to someone. They didn't have a single text message or email where they discussed money at all. Not one.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Not even a message about the move or coordinating it. However, that is until just days before Heidi's murder. About a week before, Heidi started getting collections calls for bills, which she would immediately redirect to Nick via call, email, or text. He would tell her the same thing that he was telling Rachel. It's spam. I've handled it. That was for the business. I already handed over to Dad. Don't worry about it, etc., etc., etc. But why lie? Why hide it? Well, he was embarrassed. He was 100% embarrassed that he couldn't be and he wasn't being the, quote, role model of a man in the marriage that he wanted to be, the one that everyone at their church looked up to, the one that all of Heidi's friends said, I hope I can find a man like him to marry. And he knew that if Heidi was aware of the extent of their troubles, she was a yapper. She was going to tell everyone. His fear was that these people would lose respect for him. He literally had two sides to him. It was like the good and the dark side. And a lot of people compare his psychological makeup on a very, very thin level to BTK. He was this one person to his wife, to his parents, to his friends, to his church community, to his family, to his coworkers. And then behind closed doors, when he was with himself, he was a completely different person. And all of this was enough for Sergeant Sipes to believe that Nick Firkus had staged a home invasion and murdered his wife. So on May 19th, 2021, they got their warrants and they arrived at Nick's house at 5:04 a.m. They knocked on the door, making him aware that he was under arrest under the suspicion of the murder of Heidi Firkus in 2010, and then a search warrant was executed at his home, after which he was charged with first and second degree murder. This entire time, he was incredibly cooperative with police, and the case went to trial in January of 2023. And after all these years, Nick Firkus was finally found guilty of both first and second degree murder, for which he is serving a life sentence currently, which he has appealed twice, both of which have been upheld.
Well, he had 10 years of freedom. So.
And you asked me a question, and it was, why would he have that in the back, talking about the cleaning machine in the back of his car and the pry marks on the front door. They think that initially he was going to make it look like she was abducted. So he was going to clean up the scene, and then last minute, for whatever reason, he didn't sleep that night.
You picked the loudest gun.
Yeah. A shotgun. Right. But this was very clearly planned out, but that means all day Saturday when she was shopping, he was at home cleaning, he was calculating this shit.
That's fucking crazy. Well, thank God a woman solved it.
I know. Thank God for Sergeant Sipes.
We could have told you that
literally
from the beginning,
from the jump.
Well,
they all knew from the jump too. They just couldn't
pin it on him.
They didn't have any evidence. There was nothing against him. So it took Rachel. If they didn't have Rachel, they would have had. He still would be free.
Yeah.
Because what Rachel's testimony showed was the fact that he was capable of hiding and did hide. Like, he had this double-sided life that he lived.
So did they look through her phone about the money stuff after Rachel or
no, they had done it initially, and they had done it again. Sergeant Sipes had done it once again with more advanced technology in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Sorry, I know that was long.
Transparency, people.
Yeah.
Goodness.
He admitted it? I didn't hear you.
No, he never has admitted it. He still claims that he's 100%
Innocent? What, and the
He's
guy
like
that was
in his
in
50s
jail
now.
that he framed did it?
Yeah. That
Wasn't even
part.
out?
Well, Michael Pye was interviewed on 2020, and he was like, yeah, that was me 100% in that picture, but I didn't do that. Like, he was so funny. He was really sweet, too, because he was really, like, candid about his life. He was like, yeah, I was doing, like, some crazy fuck shit back then, and, like, I wasn't a good person back then, so.
But I never hurt nobody.
I never killed anybody. I
Just
never
doing
used
what
a
I
gun.
needed to survive.
And my last name's Pye. How cute.
Hi.
And he's a little sweetheart, too. He looked kind of scary in that picture.
He did look fucking
But
scary.
he looks really good now. I saw the pictures of him current day.
Good.
Look really good.
Yeah, I mean, he was going through it.
All right, Morgan. Sorry I chatted forever.
Yeah, alrighty. So today I'm actually covering something that Taylor informed me that we have actually briefly discussed in a St. Patrick's Day episode.
Yeah.
It was like one of our, you guys know.
Maybe
how
we didn't discuss it to the public. Maybe me and you just had it on our list. Remember how we created those lists?
Oh, yeah.
That's
but
probably
I feel
what
like
it was.
we might have, but anyway.
It doesn't matter.
So I have been watching House of Guinness, and this
haven't
popped
watched
up
it.
on my TikTok, and I was like, okay, well, Ireland, here I come. St. Patrick's Day 2026 is early this year, bitches.
October.
In October.
Well,
So
mustn't we forget that Halloween is essentially St. Patty's Day?
that's true. See, I'm honoring.
Yep.
So today I'm covering what's said to be the most haunted castle in the world, the Leap Castle in Ireland. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun,
Because
dun, dun.
aren't they all the most haunted places in the world?
No.
So to start, we have to go all the way back to the very beginning and talk about a specific Gaelic clan in Ireland, the O'Bannons.
Ooh, we talked about the O'Bannons before.
Yeah, we'll go to the O'Bannons, the O'Carrolls, da-da-da-da-da.
O'Brien's.
The O'Briens.
Nicky
We
O'Brien.
did talk about the O'Briens because we kept saying, and the Nickies.
And the Nickies.
And then Nikki's family was there. Okay. Historians will debate the exact year of the start of the O'Bannons and their clan and their castle. However, it is assumed to be around the 1250s. So that's where our story really starts.
1250s are crazy.
I know. So the O'Bannons were a pretty well-known clan, and they were known not to be fucked with. However, they weren't what you would consider royalty or the most powerful clan. They were more like a step below that, and they were often referred to as what they called secondary chieftains to the clan that actually held the dominant power in the region, which was at the time the O'Carrolls.
Okay.
Nonetheless, the O'Bannons held their own land, and they were always set out to conquer their ambitions. Now, there was a bit of a tiff between two of the brothers of the O'Bannons, and eventually it becomes time that they need to select a new leader of the clan, whether their father died, not sure. Again, it was 1250. However, the brothers couldn't agree on which brother was the correct choice. So, in brotherly fashion, they're like, okay, well, let's just play a game, or we're going to hold a test. Contest. Let's play a game.
We're going to do a draw.
This game would later be known as the Leap Legend, and as all folklore does, the details do get a little lost, but this is what we assume took place through storytelling. Now, this test was the only way, you guys, to display their strength and their bravery. And in order to do so, to display one's own strength, they select a few of their followers, and they order their followers to climb to the top of a cliff.
Oh.
Morbidly, this cliff is where the castle would eventually stand. And once their selected followers got to the top of the cliff, they were ordered by the brothers to leap. And whoever's followers survived the fall, well, then it would prove the strength of whichever brother corresponded to that follower, and that chosen brother would then rule.
Guys, imagine me and Morgan are like, all right, Team Creeps and Team Crimes line up.
Who's the strongest of us two? You guys prove it.
Run up to the top of this and jump the
leap.
fuck off, and whoever survives is the strongest bitch of them all.
Of us.
Of
not
us.
you guys.
No,
not the ones that survived.
Mind you, you're
Taylor
still a
and
peasant.
I are the
We
strongest.
are the pick-me bitches.
And that is the most narcissistic thing that I have
That has ever
heard.
happened, ever.
Now, there are few sources, but very few say that it was actually the brothers that jumped themselves, but majority rules was that it was actually their stunt doubles, obviously, of their followers that they selected. To
Definitely
go up there.
their stunt
It was
doubles.
definitely not the brothers.
It was
you guys.
100% not them because they would both be dead.
This leap, however, gave the fortress its name, Leap Castle. Historians will also argue whether the O'Bannons built the castle outright or just happened to lay its foundation, but most agree that the full building of this castle was actually taken over and expanded by the O'Carroll clan, because they saw what the O'Bannon brothers were doing and they're like, oh, I think I like that castle in that location, and you're mine.
I think
even
I
though
like that one better.
It was the O'Bannons that marked the land first.
Oh, too bad.
Leap Castle is not the sort of fairy tale castle that you would imagine when you picture a castle. Instead, it was more of a fortress than a home. And this is a very barbaric time also. It sat at the edge of the countryside. It had really thick gray stone walls. It had these narrow windows, and it just honestly looks terrifying to the eye. You could tell that the castle dominated the countryside. Inside, there were roughly 20 to 30 rooms. Some say 35 if you count the chambers that they had hidden throughout it. There was a grand hall, a few smaller chambers, and then this infamous chapel that we are going to talk about later. The rooms are not delicate and furnished like you would expect. Instead, they are super cold, like they're built for survival or war, or even defense. From the very start, Leap Castle was never a place of peace. It was this place of power, betrayal, and like we know, it was built on death. And there's even speculation that this area of land, specifically the castle construction, was built on another ancient stone structure that was believed to be ceremonial of some sort. No one's sure what it was, and that area, it is proven that this area has been occupied consistently since at least the Iron Age, which is 500 BCE, and possibly since Neolithic times.
Jesus.
So this area has been very, very active.
Yeah.
Now, before I get into the hauntings, I'm going to be flying through some history here. And there's a lot of clans, there's a lot of names, there's a lot of the same names, and a lot of deaths, so just hold on tight.
Okay.
So after the O'Brannons, obviously we know that the O'Carrolls took over the castle from them. And they're the ones that really truly built it. And the O'Carrolls were a really brutal clan, yet they continually struggled for power. They were particularly known to be violent, and they were constantly trying to dominate and take and take and take. John O'Carroll was thought to be the first prince of Ely, or Ely, I think it's Ely, who lived at Leap Castle, and it is believed that he's responsible for some of the earliest sections of Leap Castle. However, he died there from the plague. John was then succeeded by his son Mulroney O'Carroll, and Mulroney was known for his strength and bravery and valor and was considered to be a really great leader, known as the Great Mulroney. But he also died around 1530 at Leap Castle after a rulership of about 42 years, death unknown. And then he was succeeded by his son Fergenham. Did I do that good?
That's a good one.
I know. Fergenham. Now, Fergenham is rumored to have murdered a guest at the dinner table, either by his own hands or by ordering a steward to kill a servant. Sick, but also not really uncommon at this time by rulers. Let's be so for real. They bring out the wrong food and they're like,
you're dead. Yep.
So, and then he himself was murdered in 1541 by the O'Molloys. The O'Molloys. Yes, the Malloys. Sorry, so Fergenham dies. He gets murdered by the O'Molloys, and then he was succeeded by his son Teague the One-Eyed. And he had other sons named William, Mulranoch, and Uathon.
Not Teague the One-Eyed.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Teague's eye.
Poor Teague. Not the Cyclops Teague.
Teague was a Cyclops.
Why are they calling this me Big Ear Taylor? Just calling out my insecurities.
Teague was pretty quick to take command, but was then killed by his own people, Cahar or Charles O'Carroll. Teague then had one son, also named Mulroney O'Carroll, and Charles or Cahar was in turn killed by Teague's younger brother, William. So all of this is Fergenham's children. They're all killing each other, all of their cousins and the boys, and they're just killing each other in 1554.
Everyone's just
and then
killed.
we have William, who is also Fergenham's son, and he's known as the Pale. So William the Pale O'Carroll was then also murdered in 1581 by the O'Connor relations.
Why the pale?
I don't know.
Referring to his skin color or a pale?
No, the Pale. He's pale.
The gaunt motherfucking ghost.
William the Ghost.
How horrible.
Now, William had 4 sons, also named Teague, another Mulrooney, but instead of Mulroney, it's Mulrooney, John and Charles. And John is the one that took over. However, John was then killed the following year by his cousin Mulroney, who was son of Teague the One-Eyed. So now the cousin is killing John. The murder was then avenged by John's brother, Charles O'Carroll, by killing their cousin Mulroney and then becoming the Prince of Ely, also being knighted in 1586. So like I said, the Carrolls are actually really just fucking murderers, to be completely frank.
And they give really mean nicknames.
And then if you can guess, Charles O'Carroll, guess what? He was killed in 1600. Unknown killer, but what is known is that it was his retaliations, as Charles had previously killed 150 of his own men, including nobles in the area, because Charles just like all of a sudden flipped his gears one day. He's like, I don't trust any of them. And he orders a few of his guys, and he's like, kill them in their sleep at their homes. And he kills 150 men.
I mean, yeah, I would hate that guy too.
Yeah. In 1629, John O'Carroll, nephew of Charles O'Carroll, was given the official ownership of the Leap estate. I'm almost done. I'm almost through this, guys. In 1649, the property of Leap Castle was then handed over to the first of the Darby line, Jonathan. So now we have a new family, the Darbys, and this is Jonathan Darby. And there's about to be 7 Jonathans.
God.
I think actually we get to 5. Jonathan the 5th.
Okay.
Jonathan Darby was a soldier of the Cromwellian forces, which I believe was the English.
Cromwell.
And was handed the property and land in lieu of pay. In 1664, the property was handed back to John O'Carroll from Jonathan Darby due to, like, John O'Carroll basically proved his loyalty to the English, I guess. And so they were like, okay, absolutely. Like, you are loyal to King Charles I. Like, you can have your land back.
And a lot of people were doing that at the time because we talked about that on St. Patty's Day.
So he was loyal to Charles I, and so the O'Carroll family got back the castle. But this arrangement only lasted about 3 years because King Charles II comes in. He's like,
fuck all that.
What the fuck do you mean you gave it back to the Irish? You gave them their land back.
And that is why the Irish and the English will still be fighting till the day that we all die.
So Charles II's like, no, take it back. So the Leap Castle once again was back in the hands of the Darbys. We go through 3 generations of Jonathan Darbys and get to Jonathan III. In 1698, everything, it was just kind of like a lot of war, a lot of back and forth, a lot of death, same thing.
Yeah.
In 1698, Jonathan III Darby, who was in charge of Leap at the time, was tried for treason and sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. But there was this big power shift within the British monarchy, and then Jonathan Darby was actually pardoned by William of Orange, who was then crowned as the King of England, King William. So he was pardoned by King William.
Okay.
Jonathan III is thought to be this famous wild captain, was his name. And the son of Jonathan III, any guesses?
Jonathan
the 4th. Was born in 1708 and then married a woman named Susanna Lovett in 1745. Jonathan the 4th was succeeded by his sons.
Jonathan and Jonathan.
Jonathan the 5th, born at Leap in 1746. And then Henry, Robert, and Christopher, born later years. Jonathan Darby V maintained the Leap estate until his death in 1802, and because he didn't have any male children, the Leap castle was passed on to his younger brother, Henry. Henry Darby, who was born in 1750, was actually like this huge naval ranks officer. He climbed the ranks, ended up becoming Admiral Sir Henry de Star Darby in 1799.
Admiral Sir.
But then Henry also died in 1823, and he also had no children of his own. So upon his death, the Leap Castle estate was inherited by his brother, not Jonathan, but John Darby. John Darby married the first John.
Oh my God. Just plain John.
This one's just plain John. John Darby marries Anne Vaughan and dies in 1834. He was succeeded by their sons, William, Henry, Christopher, George, Susan, Jonathan again, John Nelson, and Sarah.
God.
William Henry Darby was the one that inherited the Leap Castle, but then died in 1880, and his eldest son had died in 1872, age 45. So the Leap estate was passed on to his grandson, Jonathan Charles Darby.
Amen.
The Darbys owned Leap Castle until there was an uprising when it was looted and burnt to the ground completely in 1922. And through the Darbys, we know that the castle was subject to tons and tons and tons of like British remodeling and restoration over the years. Like they completely did a 360 with it.
Where's this at again?
It's like in the middle of Ireland. I actually didn't write it down because I don't understand the regions there.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'll
just type in Leap Castle.
Yeah. It laid there in ruins until it was purchased, and I put 174. I'm
Update,
assuming
it's in Leap County.
In 1974, it has to be, by an Australian, Peter Bartlett. And that's a rough draft of the history and the ownership, or the overview. As we know, obviously, just from that little glimpse there, there's a lot of fucking murder in this Castle. As dark as Leap Castle beginnings were, the horror really actually solidified back under the O'Carroll clan rule, obviously. The O'Carrolls fought each other just as much as they fought their enemies. They poisoned their rivals, they slaughtered guests, and they betrayed brothers without hesitation.
Yeah.
Well, according to the legend, during the 1500s, there was this big fight that broke out between two O'Carroll brothers. One was a soldier and the other was a priest. The priest began saying mass in the chapel one morning. The whole family was gathered around, and the chapel was in the church, or not the church, the chapel's in the church. The chapel was in the castle. But before he could finish, his brother bust through the doors in front of God and everyone, struck him down, murdered him at the altar where he stood praying.
Oh my God. The fucking tea. That is horrible.
In front of the whole family and God.
I mean, God and everybody, not the chapels.
Killed the priest brother.
Literally.
Out of all the brothers.
Out of
that you guys were
everyone that you, it's like Pope Leo's brothers going up there and just killing him. And it's
Yeah.
like, kill your other brother. The one that's not the fucking Pope.
No, literally.
Anybody else.
So he murders him.
Definitely going to hell, bro.
The priest's body crumbles where he had been praying, staining the stones of the chapel floor blood with red. Red with blood. This story gives the chapel its infamous name, the Bloody Chapel. And what makes the Bloody Chapel so infamous is what people have claimed to feel and see inside even centuries later. Visitors who step through the doorway say that the air changes the moment you enter. It grows colder, heavier, kind of like the chapel itself is holding on to its breath or maybe living in that same day. Some describe the silence there as unnatural, not the quiet of like an old ruin, but a silence that kind of puts pressure up against your ears.
I hate that.
For generations, locals claim that at night, long after the castle had fallen into ruin, there was a faint light that would be seen flickering through the chapel window, kind of like a lantern or maybe a candle flame that never went out. Some say it's the murdered priest trapped in an endless loop trying to finish the mass that he never got to complete. Others have seen darker shapes, figures that move across the altar when no one is inside. They've seen a shadowy man in priest robes standing in the doorway, believed to be the murdered brother. Those who have seen him up close say he radiates something that isn't sorrow or forgiveness, but it's anger, which is why he would never have passed through.
Oh yeah, he's I'm sticking around here.
Yeah. People who sit in the chapel report being overwhelmed by a feeling of dread as if they just walked into a place that they were never meant to enter. Some will leave suddenly with no explanation except that the atmosphere just made them feel sick or they got weak in the knees. What's strange is that even when the O'Carroll family line was gone and the castle passed into other hands, the Bloody Chapel's hauntings never stopped. Every new owner, every visitor, every worker that was restoring the ruins tells the same story, and that is that the chapel is not empty and that it is haunted as fuck. And as if the Bloody Chapel wasn't enough, Leap Castle held another secret, one that was hidden behind the walls for centuries. In the early 1900s, during renovations, workers stumbled upon a trapdoor in the floor of the chapel. First, it looked like nothing more than this odd architectural feature. However, when they pried it open, what they found inside would horrify
I'm terrified.
these workers. It was an oubliette, or a small hidden dungeon. I think that's how you say it. At the bottom were these sharp, there's no stairs, guys, no ladders. At the bottom of this trapdoor were sharp wooden spikes designed to impale anybody that dropped in. And at the bottom of that pit, piled like trash, were human bones.
Where the fuck is the lever? Because
I don't
clearly
know.
there was a lever that
I
they
think
would
that they
pull.
could just pull it open and then they just push people in there.
Oh my.
Yeah, I don't think it was like Scooby-Doo.
I was thinking
wish it was. No, I don't wish I
in my mind though,
but pull the lever, crunk.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Wrong
thinking.
lever! Yeah.
Some, but no, I bet they had something like that more.
they were
They need to find the lever.
I know, they might have had a
Someone
lever.
find the lever in Leap Castle.
There are so many bones, in fact, that it reportedly took 3 full cartloads to carry them all away.
Oh, that is so tragic. No wonder it was so heavy in there. All
Yeah.
these fucking restless souls.
The O'Carrolls, it seemed, had not only murdered their rivals openly, but they had obviously devised a way to dispose of them in secret. Guests, prisoners, or just simply unlucky victims would be shoved through the trapdoor, left to die slowly on the spikes below.
Oh, God.
Even after their bones were cleared, the horror of that place obviously would linger. People who have stood near the murder hole describes waves of nausea, a sense of suffocation, sudden dizziness, almost as if the air itself was poison. And some feel like the victims are still there. Visitors have reported hearing these muffled cries and moans rising up from the floor as if the voices are still trapped in the pit.
Oh my God.
Others describe the sensation of being watched from below as though there's millions of eyes staring back at them from the darkness. Hate that. After the discovery of this hidden dungeon, stories began circulating among locals and visitors of something far stranger than ghosts of murdered priests or betrayed clan members. They spoke of a presence that wasn't human, something that was extremely small, dark, twisted, and would move throughout the entirety of the castle. Paranormal researchers would later call this being or this entity, they gave it a name, and it is called the Elemental. I hate it.
What is it, like a little demonic leprechaun?
All I'm thinking of is actually like in Inside Out, just like someone with like the little blue guy with the red guy with like the fiery head is like what I see.
Around, but like, what's so okay? We've talked about this once before, where it was like how like in every different culture or country that we cover, we get a creepy account from or something, like everyone sees like different things like as a common thing. And why is it that everything that's like dark and mischievous and bad in Ireland is like little? They're always like,
I don't know.
It's this little bitty leprechaun that'll come around and bite your fucking feet off and climb through your windows in the banshee.
I think maybe they say this one's little because he like, I don't know, he
like
walks,
a little ball or
walks
like
a little weird.
He walks.
Yeah, paranormal researchers name him the Elemental. Now, the Elemental is described as this humanoid figure, but not quite human. Witnesses say that it stays in a squat.
Oh, that is tragic.
And looks a little deformed with dark shadowed features that are almost impossible to make out. It doesn't walk, it glides or scuttles. And it isn't bound, obviously, by rooms or walls.
The element, why not the crab?
No, literally.
We could have had a way better description of that.
Krabby Patty.
The Krabby Patty.
Mr. Krabs.
The creepy crab. Like, so many
I don't know why they called him that. I should have looked it up. So it's throughout the entire castle. People claim that it follows them from the chapel to the hallways, from the staircases to the hidden chambers, always watching. It's always present. Its presence is accompanied by something even more disturbing, which is this putrid sulfur stench.
Oh, so it's a demon.
That seems to rise from the floorboards itself.
Yep.
The Darby family, who owned Leap Castle in the early 20th century, remember all those Jonathans and Johns, wrote a lot about encounters with the elemental.
Really?
In their diaries or books. Whatever they would write in. They claimed it would appear at night. It would let out a scream that sounded almost human, but it was like warped and inhumane. They described doors slamming, furniture moving, objects being hurled across rooms without any sort of explanation. And obviously the elemental was different from the ordinary ghost because it felt alive and obviously it felt demonic. Crazy.
I really hate that.
Me too. And like many haunted places, there's also a cast of these like ghostly residents that give the castle a little bit more personal kind of haunting. So first, of course, guess what there is? There's the lady in red. Another lady in whatever color, but don't roll your eyes yet because this one has fucking teeth.
She's different.
She's different.
It's all we ever ask for.
Just a little bit of different.
Just a little different.
She's tall. She's got jagged teeth. She's cloaked in this like flowing red robe and is often seen carrying a dagger.
She's not come to fuck
She's
around.
out for fucking vengeance because the legend says that she was a woman that was held captive in the castle, assaulted by the O'Carroll brothers, and then lost her child.
I'd be walking around with a knife and jagged teeth too,
Me
bitch.
too. I'd be biting their fucking dicks off every night.
Every night.
Her death was tragic, violent, and clearly she's never left because of that.
Nope.
People who have crossed her path describe feeling this icy hand brush their shoulder. There'll be a sudden drop of temperature or just the feeling of being watched. And then there are two little girls, Emily and Charlotte. They're pretty innocent, but they're a little eerie. We don't know who Emily and Charlotte are. They just have gotten these names in recent years.
Okay.
Emily is often seen running through the hallways. She's always laughing. And Charlotte walks with a limp. Guests report hearing them giggle in empty rooms or seeing shadows of them at the tops of the staircases. They're always playing as though nothing ever went wrong. Whatever did happen to them, we are unsure.
You know what's weird is that you said that the elemental walks a little weird walk. I wonder if like Emily and Charlotte
Or like it's
morph.
good version of it.
Yeah, like more like the approachable version of it. Whereas it like morphs, and you said it has like a scream, like a human morphed.
And they're always hate that. And of course, the castle is full of other apparitions like shadowy figures in the corner, strange flickers of movement in the windows, or just sudden like bursts of shadow across your face. Like a draft of a shadow like in the corner of your eye. People who visit often say it feels like the castle has a life of its own, or a consciousness that obviously remembers centuries of betrayal, violence and grief. And that is the Leap Castle.
I love anything from Ireland, bitch.
I know.
It's so good. Like there is
it's
never
so hard to like the fucking history of the clans.
I know you got to go through 30,000 hoops.
Because it wouldn't
to
have
get
been
there.
right to not go through those.
No, because we
motherfuckers.
love Ireland too much to not tell the full
but
story.
These families were brutal.
Yeah,
okay?
they're fucking crazy.
They were like, that was crazy.
Sorry, Logan like shattered something.
Logan O'Carroll is in the kitchen.
The element is. I was
why
really
would you say
joking.
that?
Just like that, Sage. In fact, I was joking, God. I really was. Please protect this house.
But Logan O'Carroll is clearly doing dishes. Barbarically.
Barbarically right now. He's probably making his Toval.
I can't get over that they actually named the castle after the Leap Challenge. And like they literally were like, oh, new TikTok challenge. Alrighty, guys, line up at the top of the cliff. Cinnamon challenge.
Well, what's crazier too is that
fucked
the O'Carrolls, like the Brannons, is that what it was? Brannons?
Bannons.
Mm-hmm. They never even like got to be in that house. So like, why keep the name Leap Castle?
No, really. And like what happened between, I know that the O'Bannons were always underneath the O'Carrolls. Like they always were. They were never the top dog of like top clan.
And what a horrible reality.
I know that does suck. But like obviously something would have happened for the brothers to a fight for their leadership. So I'm assuming dad died. Maybe there was like some little like shift of power grab there with the O'Carrolls where like they needed a leader quick.
Yeah.
And they were going to go after the O'Carrolls. I'm sure there's more shit on it. It's too hard to find.
I'm sure the O'Carrolls fucking killed dad in their trap door.
Probably.
Oh wait, the trapdoor
wasn't there. The O'Carrolls did all that.
The O'Carrolls definitely had.
Dude, they were killing every cousin and brother that was in power. No. They're like, Dad, who killed him? The cousin, and then Jonathan? The other brother would go and kill it. No, Jonathan's a Darby.
Oh yeah,
and they were all. Oh my God, what were the O'Carrolls? Why do I forget their names? They all had the same name. Yeah, Teague the one eye, William the Pale,
Teague the Cyclops.
The Cyclops.
They just were mean as fuck.
No, like someone did. He's like, okay, I don't trust any of you guys. Kill 150 noblemen.
They were bad. They were bad.
Yeah, that was bad.
Hey, you want to hear something funny that's so crazy that you did Ireland today? So when we making everything about me, of course, the other day we were going through, obviously guys, I told you we had to renovate the whole house to get the studio to be where the studio is. And so I had found like a bunch of manila envelopes that I had like stored in places that they should not be stored. I should have them like in a place that makes sense. And they were from all my years of college. I always kept 3 manila envelopes and I'd put like anything that was important to me in these envelopes and I never like got rid of them. One of them was from when I was in Ireland and it had like everything. I had Polaroid pictures in there, like tons of them. I had these letters that Logan wrote me that had pressed flowers in them that he had like pressed for me.
He
before.
did that?
Yeah, he like wrote me a bunch of letters for when I was there.
Damn.
I know, he's really...
They say romance never dies.
He loved me then. And he did not want me falling for an Irishman because he knew I was never coming back. Yeah, I'd be staying over there. I'd be having dual citizenship. So anyways, he gets... I was going through all of these and I find... like 7 recipe cards that I had gotten at this Irish. We had gone to like a overnight thing and they had given us some recipe cards of the stuff that we had made. So like bread and butter and like jam and like all this stuff. And these recipes had like when they were first created by the families and they were like 200 years old.
That's cool.
I'm like, that's older than the fucking United States.
Giving them out for free?
Yeah. And it had like pictures of like their families on it and everything. And I was like, oh my God, I can never get rid of these. Like ever.
And you just had them in a random manila folder.
Yeah, I just had them in a manila folder.
I'm surprised they aren't in the closet from hell.
I know, and then I had all the contracts and all the maps and everything from my dorm at University College Dublin, like everything like that. I was like, damn, I'm a good hoarder. Like, I keep things. And in the midst of that, I found stuff from Morgan's wedding that I pulled out and brought in here, and I was like, whenever you need it.
I know, I'm just waiting for my car to be broken into because Aaron was even like, ooh, $20 bill for me. I'm like, yeah, that's an Ollie buck.
That's an Ollie buck. And then the other day when me and Morgan were renovating the entire studio, she was cleaning through like all of our like shelves and stuff, and she just found this cork in there. She's like, what the fuck is this on the bottom? It's like Morgan's bridal shower. Cork that she popped at the bridal shower.
She does. She's a hoarder.
I keep everything.
Some of her shit is good. I'd say about 25% of the shit she hoards is good as shit.
Yeah, 25%.
75% needs to get to the trash.
75% of it needs to be get the fuck out of here. I also found an entire tote bag. You remember the ghost that tote bag, the ghost
Stay Creepy
from season 3?
Yeah.
I found that upstairs in my closet. and I want you to know that it's filled to the brim with colored pencils, markers, and crayons.
All right. Just in case you want to. Oh, that was during your artistic phase.
Yeah, that was clearly I had gone through something.
That was like a 3-month ordeal.
Oh, where I was like, oh yeah, I remember. And I drew
You're
everything.
Sketching, everything, coloring, painting. You're on your iPad.
Sketch pads. I had to find all of those as well. So anyways, it's funny that you did Ireland because I've just found those. I didn't even tell anyone about it. I just found them. I was like, oh, this is so good. Put it back in here so you don't lose it.
Well, I think because I was like watching the House of Guinness, so then I was looking up like TikToks of like, you know, shit like that. And then I got to the Leap Castle and I was like, oh, fuck, I have to cover this. And I didn't think it would be like actually like that good of a haunting. I probably would have done it. Like, we would have, imagine us hammered reading that.
That'd have been actually great.
I know. Maybe we'll revisit. I'm going to keep these notes for 3 years down the line and we'll redo it.
But yeah, because God knows by then.
I think we should revisit Banshee and Iron Mike this year.
I think we should, but I told Iron Mike to the best of my ability. There's no way I could tell Iron Mike better this year.
No, we could.
I think we could
I could definitely do Banshee better because we couldn't even speak. We were so hammered. We weren't even forming words.
Did I do Darky Kelly that day too?
No, you only did Iron Mike.
Iron Mike, he was the first one.
Yeah.
We started doing multiple after that.
Yeah, for some reason.
Why?
Then we fucked ourselves.
I know, and then we're like, we have nothing left.
We did like 6 one year.
I know, we did. Because they were just all little. I'm sure we could, look, there's a million more.
I know.
There really is. They're just hard to understand and comprehend because they're
What did we do last year?
complex.
The giants and the like rock people.
All I remember was that we were in Dublin.
We were in Dublin.
Can't wait to go back to Dublin this year.
Yep. Alrighty, guys.
Love you so much. It's really late. We got to go. Halloween's coming up. Don't forget that we have the Paroween things going on. Morgan's already is out.
I'm already out on And That's Why We Drink.
If you haven't
feed.
listened already, head over to And That's Why We Drink.
And I covered Hat Man.
Ooh, yeah. And we actually used some of, she did some of your creepy accounts.
I used one creepy account. It was a listener from both And That's Why We Drink and Creeps and Crimes.
Oh, I love that. And then also mine with Sierra will be on our feed. And not next week, but the week after. And then the week after that is Halloween. So we'll be doing something.
Something fun, okay?
Yeah, like just fuck it. Let us live a little. We're going to drink something and have a good time. Love you.
All right, love you. Bye.
Bye.